And right now I want to do a very quick, just 10 minutes, overview on liquid swaps. And so basically, what will be the next topic will be cross-chain swaps. So swaps between Liquid, Lightning, Bitcoin, and other chains. But in Liquid, you have multiple assets within the same chain. So you could do some kind of swaps that do not require you to go to wait for other events. You can make everything happen within a single transaction. And that's what we'll be dealing with. But we will not talk exactly about that, and nor talk about traditional finance swaps, which are something that it has the same name, but it's a completely different things. What we're talking about is just swap between liquid assets, so LBTC versus USDT, for instance. So the desired feature for this kind of swap, we want that to be atomic. This has that either LBTC are sent and USDT are received, or nothing happens. We want that to be trustless, I believe, or at least trust minimized. And we want that to be blinded because we don't want to expose the details of our trade to other counterparties. And then we want them to have a small on-chain footprint so that they are not recognizable. We don't want to be advertised that we did a fraud. Perhaps we want to do it, but postpartum. They want to have them to have a simple setup, and we don't want them to be convoluted in any ways. And also we want few interaction between the two parties, the two or more partners. Also we want them to be hardware wallet friendly so that I can check the details on my trade box, the trade on my trade. Finally, that's kind of in place to want them to be secured. I mean, that was one, I don't want to incur to the risk on losing my funds. So there are a few existing implementation. The first one was I worked on that in 2019. It was the liquid swap tool, which was the first attempt. And then there was an implementation by the guy from Bloomberg Ventures, which is Liquid Taxi, which is an applied version. Then there are some a way to do a swap in a 3-step way, which is done by the Sideswap team. Then there is an implementation by Kidex, again, 3-step swaps. There are some covenant-based swaps that be done for some projects. And then there are the Liquid swaps, which is a way to do swaps in a steps fashion, which is basically the same interface, just sending to an address. Basically, instead of giving you an address, I will give you a partial Bitcoin to elements transaction. And finally, there is a PST example, a way to do a swap with zero chain footprint, but with a lot of overhead terms of blessing. So the first protocol, the first tool was the liquid swap tool, which was a peer-to-peer way of doing swaps. It imports 3 steps, and it uses a backend elements called wallet and has a CLI and MOE. It was the first attempt. It worked. It was kind of nice, but from a user perspective, having 3 steps is a bit. It's not niceable, because basically what you do is that you start a swap proposal and you decide the rates on both sides, and then you have the other matching those, and at the end you sign. The issue with that is that having those steps, at each step, each counterparty can abort the protocol if that is its advantage, and that can happen quite often. And in terms of how the UX is terrible. I mean, building an app where you have to wait for the other to sign, it's something that you really don't want to deal with. So another way of approaching this swap procedure was Liquid Taxi, which had the same idea with respect to LiquidX, but basically it only worked for unlighted UTXOs. So basically you were asking for some LBTC, pay for fees, and you were paid for those in LUSD. And that worked in 2 steps. And the service was basically allowing the user to get those BTC in exchange for USDT using the trick of a single signature in one campaign. So basically, it had transaction where he had one input and one output, and the signature on the input was only committing to that tip at the time, nothing of the rest of the transaction, which meant that you can add more input and more to the transaction without the signature being invalid. That was liquid taxing, which I don't think it works anymore, but in the meanwhile, why new things were added? So SideLoop added the possibility to do swaps with 3 steps, and they were server mediated, and they are server mediated. In some circumstances, you want them, and the server mediation is a pro in some sense because it allows the server to make sure that the two counterparty behave correctly, but you have to trust that the server actually enforce these rules. Now SideLoop has 2-step swap with LiquidX, and it's they provide a better experience because you are not asked to sign with a notification, which is not ideal and doesn't work for most of the people. Another implementation is by TDEX. They have a 3-step way of doing things, and however, one of the two parties must be always online, which is not ideal from a practical perspective. The way they do that left no illegal footprint, but however, one of the two parties must be basically a sub. Then there are covenant-based swaps. So basically, the fact that the transaction is swapping these assets is enforced from the scripting level. It uses introspection opcodes, and that's quite nice in terms of using the specificity that Liquid allows. But to introspect the asset must be unblinded, which is not nice, and also the amount partly unblinded. And that leads to larger transactions because all these special codes requires some requires all these instruction to be coded explicitly the transaction. There are a couple of options. One is behind the project about lending and borrowing with Liquid, which is linked in there, and also about the non-custodian option paper that Andrew Posta and others published recently, a couple of years ago, I remember. Then there is LiquidX, which is a way to do swaps on the Liquid chain to stacks. So basically, LiquidX defines a protocol. Since there are only 2 steps, it just defines a proposal format. And the proposal format basically includes the information like if I want to buy some BTC and I'm willing to pay USDT, I will have a UTXO with the USDT that I want to send and say that I want to buy $1,000 of BTC. And let's say, so we construct a transaction which will have this input, which has 1,000 USDT, and then one output which has the corresponding value in BTC. And then I will sign that with a specific SIGAR so that I commits to both. And basically I will do the same trick that the Liquid Taxi agent was doing. However, we managed to do that in a blended cycle. So the input will remain blinded and the output will remain blinded. Of course, it will not remain blinded to my counterparty in the trade, because my counterparty in the trade needs to know how much you should send to me and how much you should receive from me. So that's kind of the way you can do swaps in Liquid. And BSCT support in 2 weeks might arrive because now we have everything. We just need to find the time to actually code that. Once the guest key support will be done for LiquidX swap, we'll add support for that in MWK as well. So the final example was an example with BSCT that is linked in there, and it's a way to use BSCT to collectively construct and blind a a swap transaction. It uses new fields that we are using in the latest version of LiquidX with asset and value blind, which are basically proofs that a certain commitment commits to an asset without revealing the blinding factors. Revealing the blinding factor exposed to a series of risks that might allow you to replace the rate proofs and do some kind of nasty attacks that you don't want to be possible. Because when you are doing these protocols, which involve like dealing with other people, with other entities, you have to assume that they will try to mess up with your exhaust. The protocol must be secure in this sense. Some attacks are quite subtle, but you need to be protected about those. So this was the last example, and I want to stress out what a swap can enable. So let's think about a swap as a building block. We can think about like a way to just to simply trustlessly and trustlessly swap from an asset to another in the Liquid chain in an atomic fashion. So that enables the swap to be completely peer-to-peer. No third party needs to be there. I can swap with a random person on Telegram, which I don't know and I don't trust, and I don't need to trust. It would be like you could do some way of like you do not need to know or trust your counterparty, which if you think about like particular swap, it's not the case. And also the other party does not have to be online. It doesn't have to be online. The whole swap procedure can be completely async. I can just send the proposal to a group, which is at some reasonable price, swap USDT for LBTC, and then I can go offline. And if someone will be kind enough to accept it, that will go through, and I will realize that once I log in again, my wallet. So we could do a lot of things. We could, with this building block, we can build a loader book, basically, where I just upload proposal, and then someone will go there and matches them. We can have liquidity providers, for instance. Let's say that I have a lot of USDTs, and I want to exchange them for BTC, or vice versa. I can just set up a page where I have a rate, and rate scores as some kind of spread so that I make some money. And when people need USDT or BTC, they come to me and I swap with them. And of course, I'm providing them with a service and they are paid because they will spread on that. You can sell tokens, any kind of asset or liquid asynchronously. So basically, I could have like a web page, static web page where I list all of these proposals and where I sell some kind of NFTs, for instance, for BTC or USDT. And people just go there, try to match the proposal. If the proposal goes through, then the asset is done and I got the money. And I do not need to be aligned on that. So you can build a website that is a static website that sells liquid assets. You can do auctions. So let's say that I have a unique NFT. I want to sell it to the best one. I need to provide the asset ID and some other information, and people can do proposal and send proposal to me. I can then match the proposal, the best proposal that arrived to me, with like the rule of the auction. So then you can also do like an automated OTC desk. So basically, you are trying to match the trades that are coming here and there, and you can do that with very low speed because you're matching the one from the other, just completing proposal from different parts. You can build a decentralized exchange on Liquid because that would basically be a peer-to-peer software that relays LiquidX proposal. In the end, you just need to relay those, and you have some anti-denial service measure, which are basically checking the proposal are legit, the rate in terms of prices makes sense, and the UTXO actually exists. You can also have mutually exclusive proposal. Let's say that you want to sell my NFT. I can sell it for like 70,000 USDTs or 1 BTC. And one of the two will take place of both the two, since there is a single utility zone that can be taken. And also you can do partial limit orders. All of the above can be done in a fashion that is completely fair with respect to what is seen in like an auction or a traditional finance swaps. Everything can be completely verified by other parties, and that by doing so you can automatize all the things. You remove the trust, and so you do not need to like trust certain entities all by the time. So we saw a lot of the iterations, and these iteration highlighted some of the things that we want in a swap protocol. It's not just I want to do a swap, because if it's 2-step or 3-step, it makes a huge difference. Doing a product on a swap service that requires 3 steps, it's very hard. I mean, it will impact user in a vast way and with the greater quality of the product. So having 2-step is a huge inconvenience. Binding is tough and it's very delicate, and things can go wrong with it. So it's a delicate step, but it provides a lot of value, because once the trade is settled, if it is settled privately, then no one else other than the sender and the receiver knows the information, which is something that you definitely want. You want this protocol to be open because you want to be interoperable. I mean, I want to be able to get a proposal out of SideSwap and complete it with some other software if I don't want to use the wallet, and vice versa. The trade-off between some of the protocols is that some of them require one of the parties to be always online, which is annoying, and de facto is creating some central third parties that we want to try to avoid creating loss. The complexity can skyrocket, so we want to keep it as simple as we could, so that we can build more product that can be more easily understood, and become the more complexity in other things rather than the swap itself. The UTXO management becomes quite tricky, because the trade-off is that if you go for the 2-step swaps, then you need to sell a single UTXO, and that might require you to do a transaction just to create the UTXO of the desired side, which is not ideal. And also sometimes you need to cancel as well. So basically, I went out and proposed us as well for a certain price of for Bitcoin, then the price either dropped or went too much up, and I want to cancel that operation. I can do that. I just need to double split my UTXO. So that's kind of the list of the trade-offs that when we talk about swaps. Conclusion, I'm a bit of time, so I would just leave you to read them and get some questions. Please.
Yeah, I just have a quick question. I just wanted to kind of clarify what you were discussing and make sure I understand. So essentially, all of these you described like a lot of different ways to do the swaps, but am I correct in saying that essentially all of these different ways rely on there's some sort of centralized provider or service which creates a liquid transaction which has 2 different assets as input owned by different people, and then the outputs kind of swap them to the other parties. And essentially all these protocols you described are ways of kind of getting this, like assembling this transaction and getting these signatures on this, right? So it creates kind of things you send to the user's wallets and they sign it, and they're all just different ways of creating the swap transaction.
The part where you say that all of these protocols rely on the central third party is not correct. So if we see the first example, the liquid swap tool is completely peer-to-peer. So you just interact with the other third party, which has its pros and its cons. So basically you are creating a JSON in this case and sending it to the third party. For example, creating this JSON and it to use. Then you manipulate that, you do the second step, and then you send it back. And in this case, it's completely peer-to-peer. If for Liquid Taxi, there is a central service. SideSwap has a central service and is mediating things. TDEX has like multiple central services. The common base is peer-to-peer. But of course, everything that's peer-to-peer can be made centralized. I mean, if the deck is peer-to-peer, then you can just build on top something that is centralized. And Liquid is completely peer-to-peer, but of course, you can build a centralized version of the peer-to-peer one. Let's say that with Liquid, for instance, I create the transaction on my mobile. I just use the UI to create the transaction, spending one in my UTXO and getting the corresponding output. And then I just get out of that a JSON. I send that JSON to James. James process that to give a software that is capable of doing so, which basically completes the transaction and then broadcast the transaction to the network. This operation is completely peer-to-peer. But of course, it could be something like I have a service, there is a service, and I'm interacting with the service. The service is providing me a Liquid proposal, and I'm just completing it. So in this sense, it's peer-to-peer, but we can use the peer-to-peer tech to build something that is centralized.
And in order to kind of use one of these tools, you can use a lot of wallets, right? What is the requirement on the wallet? Like, does it only have to be able to sign the PSETs, the parts to sign on this transaction? Can you basically use any wallet that can sign those on these tools?
No, to use, to follow, to run a swap protocol, you need to enforce additional steps because you want to be sure that the protocol is secure itself. So for instance, for what concerns LiquidX, you can use the GDK and the size of wallet, and then you can use some custom software that I wrote that I do not advise to use unless you are trying to understand the things that are being done. And you can use the wallet, which is kind of the predecessor of LWK, and soon you will be able to use LWK. But yes, each swap protocol has additional steps that are required in order for you to use it. It's not just plug and play. It's not that I give you a partially signed transaction, which is part of a swap, and you sign it, because that exposes you to a lot of nasty stuff that your ears can do. So in this sense, sometimes when you prefer to interact with a centralized server, because the centralized server has some kind of reputation, so it's harder for it to mess up with you. Still can happen, of course. But when we structure this peer-to-peer protocol, we need to enforce more stuff. We need to be more strict. We basically check. We expect the transaction to have these fields. These input must be signed. We verify a lot of stuff. We are sometimes overly cautious in this sense because we do not want to risk of peers messing up with our algorithms. For what concerns LiquidX, it's integrated with J. So when you do a trade with a swap of this kind, it will display you on the J the US swapping, 1,000 USDT for the corresponding BTC amount. It will display that of the device itself. So it's something that from a knowledge perspective is extremely knowledge. So you can verify on a specific device which is the trade that is happening right now, and what are you signing, and what are you signing if you are creating the proposal, or what are you leading that you are just completing. Is there any other question? If there is not, feel free to come at me later, or in the chat, or a meetup, or on Telegram, wherever you find me, on the email. I'm available for all those. And there is third question, I will leave to the next speaker.